Now then, uh, how's it going, everybody? Um, right, I'm just gonna tear through this mastering a mix. At least this is how I do it. There's hundreds of ways you can do it. I do it this way because it's really quick, and I don't know. I've always had decent results with it. So uh, have a look at the video if you like it. You like it. If not, there's, as I say, you can do it in Ableton, you can do it Audacity, you can do it. I actually don't know what you can do in Traktor, to be honest, because I don't use it. Anyway, so tools that you're going to need, right? You're going to need Audacity, that's free. You're also going to need to convert from WAV to MP3, you're going to need a LAME encoder. So the best thing to do is Google Audacity MP3 LAME encoder. And yeah, so just install that. If you have any hassle, just give us a shout, right? So this is what you're looking at here is a set that's been recorded directly from my decks into Audacity. I suppose like I kind of run my tracks through Platinum Notes beforehand, so it standardizes the actual levels of them. I know people kind of say that's a waste of time, but again, it's all kind of personal preference, really. It kind of works for me. So yeah, that's just a raw mix straight. Straight into Audacity. I don't use Traktor. I go from like a Pioneer mixer into this thing here. So what I do, it's a very simple process, right? I have a look at the waveform, make sure it's reasonably even, which it is. This thing here is your, I suppose that's your, what do they call it? Perceived volume. This is the actual volume. So these are the peaks. In other words, dark blue is peaks. This stuff is RMS. Doesn't really make a whole lot of difference, but it's just, there's two different kind of levels that are kind of applicable. RMS, root mean square, and then peaks, which is what you're seeing there, all your little peaks along the top. So best thing to do is Control A, Command A, then go Effect, and I go Equalization. So in equalization, all I do, and again, this is, you don't need to do this, I do it because it works for me. I bring the bass down by about, say, 2 decibels. The reason why I do this is because the majority of people that listen to sets listen to them on earphones or on hi-fi systems or on car stereos or all that kind of stuff, right? And really, that's kind of like consumer level, whatchamacallit, audio systems. And what they do is they color the sound. In other words, make it more bassy. So really, I try and compensate for that by just taking 2 decibels out of the low end. Again, you don't need to do it. A lot of people don't do it and their sets sound well, but yeah, up to yourself. Yeah, I suppose, I'm taking 2 decibels out of the lower end because you can see essentially 20 to 140 hertz is really the kind of region of kick drums and subs. And that's what I'm doing. So you can see a little dot there and taking it down from, say, 200. It's all kind of, play with the settings yourself. Okay, it'll go off and it will do its magic. So we will wait. Come on. A lot of people say, they use Ableton or kind of like Logic for mastering stuff as well, and equally it'll work perfectly. But for me, it's all down to kind of speed and ease of doing this type of stuff, ease of doing it. And this is free, obviously. So really, what you've noticed, the levels have kind of dropped a little bit, and now what we need to do is we need to find the loudest part. So let's just take a little kind of a spot check. Yeah, I just want to highlight a little section there. Analyze, plot spectrum. So there's our waveform for that chunk of data, or it's a kind of an average waveform, right? So all I'm interested in, this is our bass end, our kind of high mids, or should I say low mids, high mids, and then our kind of highs, right? So obviously always your low is kind of taking up a good chunk of your bandwidth, if you want to call it that, your mix. And what I do is I just mouse over the kind of low part here. So you see here is -8. So cursor 89 hertz, F2 equals -8. Really what we're doing there is we're kind of identifying the peak. And it kind of ties in really here, yeah. You know, what that's telling us is the maximum loudness in this chunk that we've selected is -8 decibels. Decibels is always negative. Close that. Let's take another chunk. What have we got here? Analyze, plot spectrum. Kind of looking similar enough to me. No, it's not. It's -7. So you have to remember these numbers, right? Well, it's the kind of the highest one, or the lowest negative is what's important. So let's just another quick spot check. I need to shoot off now a tick. Plot spectrum. What have we got? Something similar. -7. Yeah, you just saw the -7 there. And it kind of looks loudish over here. Analyze plot spectrum. Okay, so now there's no problem there. And this final little piece here, let's see what that says. Yeah, so it's all the lowest, or essentially the loudest part of this mix that we're looking at is -7 decibels, and it's right down in the kind of 20 hertz region, which is more or less inaudible. But it doesn't matter, because you just, you know, we want to make sure that whatever loudness is in this mix is not impacted by the results of compression. So Control A, effect. Again, this is my own personal little procedure. I use the SE4 compressor. It's kind of fairly mild. So look at these settings. I'm not going to go into the settings. Attack time. You can read up about compression. There's reams of stuff you can read up on about. What we're interested in here is the threshold level. Yeah. So I have it in there as -6.8 from a previous set. I have it set to that. So the loudest level that we spotted was -7. What we need to do is we need to go a touch below -7, or if you think about it, a touch louder than -7. So -7 decibels is not as loud as -6.8 decibels, if that makes any sense. It probably doesn't, but have a read up on Wikipedia about it if it doesn't make sense. Really what you want to do is you want to go for a number slightly below the maximum loudness level, or the maximum decibel level that you noticed in your mix, yeah? And that's what you throw in there. It's really the only setting that you need to worry about. Ratio is your compression ratio. I kind of keep it really mild, especially for the SE4, because we're going to be using another compressor in a minute. Knee radius, yeah, this is all just depending on, you know, how fast the compressor acts, and when it's coming up to the actual threshold, what it does. You can have soft knee, hard knee, all that kind of fancy stuff. Not important. And this thing here called makeup gain, I kind of do play around with this a little bit. Really what it does is it's makeup gain makes up, hence its name, makes up for the loss of level as a result of compression. We're using a very low level of compression here, so I tend to use a very low level of makeup gain. And the reason why is because we are using another compressor after this. So look at those settings. I would say use all of those if you want. I mean, you could play with the release time here. But again, it's not going to make a whole heap of a difference. Release time is just how fast the compressor returns to normal levels once the level drops below the threshold. Yeah, look, all you need to worry about is this fella here. That's what will change, because every mix is going to be different. Every mix is going to have a different max loudness level, and that's what you're concerned about. So I've selected all the mix, and now I'm going to hit apply. It's going to go off and do its thing. Really what the threshold level is doing there, we're determining, you know, -6.8, it's essentially what that's going to do is where it sees the level going above -6.8, it's going to compress it by a factor of 1.7. If it was a factor of 2, what that would mean is for every decibel above the threshold, which is 6.8, it will compress it by 2 decibels. That's how compression works. Okay, so it's gone off and done it. You can see fairly clearly that the waveform has jumped. It's got louder. You can also see it's kind of clipping over here, but it's actually not. It's soft clipping. It's not. It's hitting 0 decibels right there, but it's not going to distort because the SC4 compressor makes sure it doesn't hard clip. Hard clipping in digital is bad. You want to avoid that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go to this, my favorite little tool. I actually use this in productions as well. It's really good. It's this thing called the George Young W1 limiter. It's free. It's essentially a, how would you say, a carbon copy of the Waves, I don't know whether it's L1 or L2 Ultra Maximizer. But the algorithm built into this thing is the bee's knees. Once you set the ceiling, nothing will pass through the ceiling. So we set the ceiling here to, say, 0 decibels, which is unity gain, and nothing will pass through it, so you'll never clip. Now, the settings that we have here, so release time is 20. We can play around with that. I mean, it's kind of it's arbitrary. It all depends on the sound that you're going for. You want to go for kind of, TV kind of sound, TV commercial type of sound. You can kind of increase. You can just play around with it. It's not particularly important. I just kind of tend to stick to about 40 milliseconds on this compressor. And again, here, this is the big deal here. What threshold do you want to set? It does take a bit of trial and error. It all depends on how your waveform is going into this. But let's just see what happens when we use that 3.3, right? In fact, I'd say we probably go a touch more. Let's leave it at 3.5. Apply that. It'll go off and do its thing. Come on. You'll see it getting really loud, and it'll hit the limit right across the board, which is what we want. It gives you maximum loudness. Boom, there we go. To me, that looks spot on. What we've done is we have essentially reduced the dynamic range of this mix. So you can see the levels are more or less even right throughout the whole mix, which is what you want. That's the whole idea of compression, really. And what was I going to say? Yeah, so obviously your level is all spot on, and you've made it louder, which is what you want to do. So the makeup gain has how would you say, compensated for the compression. If that doesn't make sense, I don't have to shoot off, right? But if any of this stuff doesn't make sense, just drop me a message on Facebook or something like that, and I will get back to you. All right then. Catch you later.